3, 2, 1. Oh, this is devolving. At some point, it's just going to be like, I'm going to say 3, 2, 1. And it's going to be like 3, 2, 1.
Or it'll be just like, I start talking, like the podcast has started.
I have, it's kind of multiple facts, but interesting things. These are interesting things.
I really
about
like
when
things. Go for it.
When and what do you think were the first domesticated animals? So what were the first domesticated animals?
My first, the direct answer that comes to me would be dogs or wolves.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. How long ago? What did you think that was?
10,000 years ago.
13,000 BCE. So what's that? That's 15,000 years ago.
Oh, I was close.
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you're talking about like 10 to 15,000 years.
I think 5,000 years is fine, I would say.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's the first domesticated animal. But what do you think the first domesticated farm animal, like a producer of meat and other things, potentially?
Of course, it's the pig.
It's not.
The swine.
It was swine. No, it wasn't swine. Yeah, I was actually looking for swine now, I'm afraid, totally. No, it wasn't. It was the goat.
The goat, okay.
Yeah, which if you think about it, kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. Look, milk.
Yep.
Meat.
Yep.
Can you make jumpers out of goats?
I mean, you can make a jumper out of anything, friend. Depends how hard you try.
Okay, no, you don't. What is the word again? To remove the fluffy thing on the sheep. The fluffy hairs.
Shear.
Shear, exactly.
Shear.
I know that word, I actually know that word.
Because, I mean, you say that, but...
Yeah, but
all
obviously...
evidence is pointing towards that you don't.
Yeah, but I just have the memory leak.
Anyway, goats. How long ago do you think they were domesticated? So dogs were... dogs were 15,000 years ago.
Well, I would say 10,000 then. Again.
So they were 10,000 BCE. So...
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
So even closer.
Good.
And then coming up after that were pig and sheep, swine and sheep.
Nice.
And they were 9,000 BCE. So there you go.
Nice, interesting.
Some facts, yeah. And then I think after that it was cattle, and they were like 8,500 or something. But anyway.
And then you can say humans got domesticated by cats.
Well, yeah. When did that happen? Egyptian kind of period. Egyptians, they worshipped cats, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But I mean, on this case, it's the opposite. Like the dog comes to you, the cat uses you to eat and sleep.
Well, I mean, that's just cats. I think that's cats in general.
Yeah.
Like I've done. Yeah. Well, I've been on safari. And yeah, I mean, you just hunt around for big cats. That's what you do. Like even the wild ones, they just wait and you go to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you go to them and you see them and they're just either sleeping or just like cleaning themselves. So okay, cool.
Yeah. What about reptilians? Because they domesticated men too.
Please, tell me more.
Okay, I've been watching, the show that just came out, True Seeker, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
Oh, yeah.
There's some good
I've
bits.
Not watched it yet, but yeah.
There's some good bits. Watch it and we can discuss about it in another episode if you want.
Okay, cool.
It's Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, so there's good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. They hit and miss sometimes, but I am willing to give it a go.
Yeah, we'll discuss about that.
The jingle, 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 the jingle, jingle, jingle for the podcast.
I guess we have to talk about it, Luke. It's time.
Yeah, why? I did mention it last time at the end of the episode, and I was actually thinking about it, and it's the kind of thing. So over the last week, me and Toto have chatted a couple of times, and what we do is we show each other what we've been doing on Notion, which actually I've realised might be quite hard to explain.
Yeah. Well, can you just explain
over this
a bit what is Notion to start with?
No, I refuse to.
Yeah.
If you don't know what Notion is, press stop now, delete us from everything, and no. So Notion is, how do you describe it? It's basically it's a note-taking app in a way.
I would say more a wiki-like app that has like extra features.
Yeah,
it's like a more powerful wiki.
Yeah, it's like a database-driven wiki, where you control the database, kind of. I'm sure they actually say what they are very, very concisely.
Yeah, so it's actually, they say all-in-one workspace.
Yeah, that's so wishy-washy.
I know.
But anyway, so the way I think of it is it's basically a bunch of nested pages where you can just like infinitely nest pages within each other via links. And in that way, it is kind of like a wiki. So that's basically how I first started using it. I just used it for notes and to organize things into like, you get like a tree on the side, which is kind of like a file structure. Things can be nested. You can just ad hoc nest things, add subpages, whatever. And yeah, that's basically how I started using it. You can like add headings. It supports Markdown. You can do lists, all those kind of things.
Yeah, I think and
that's how I started using it.
Yeah, I think what really makes the difference from a wiki, at least the way I see it, is you said you can take notes, you have Markdown, but you have different way of visualizing your data. So you can have, as you mentioned, a table, for example. But if this table on the columns, you have a column that says a date, you could then revisualize this information into a calendar based on that date, or you could just I can't remember all the different ways of like all the different data structures you can have, but the main one that I use are tables on my side. But it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like they've added stuff over time where you can like you can do task lists, things like that, which is quite useful. And there's some kind of, you can kind of add tables like a spreadsheet, and you can do basic formulas in it. But then the powerful thing is, in another page you can then include that table or parts of that table with filters. So yeah, it's like you could use it as a spreadsheet as well. You can obviously collaborate on like with things.
So what I see,
collaborate on things with people.
One thing also that I just saw, and that I haven't used that much, but those tables can also be visualized into a Kanban style thing. For projects and stuff. But basically, on my side, the main thing that I use it for are taking notes. It's pretty powerful. It's pretty cool because basically you get given something where you have nothing, so you can do anything you want to.
Yeah.
Which is overwhelming a little bit at the start. Like we both tried it more than a year ago. Can't remember, but
quite a while ago.
Quite a while ago, and I remember landing in there and be like, "This is freaking awesome. What do I do?"
Yeah, definitely. Like I actually remember I started using it because I was using a thing called Simple Note, which was by WordPress. I think WordPress make it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
which is just like it's just like a notes app. And I was like, I want something that's a bit more like you can do a bit more. You can, nest things or whatever. So I tried Notion, and I used it for a bit for some like personal stuff, and kind of used it as a wiki. In that sense, like for notes and like as a wiki. And then, I realized that you could use, and I was using Trello to like track things like in Kanban style, like track like my to-dos and what I was doing in the day. And then I realized that Notion could do it. So then I tried it in Notion, did that for a bit. And then for whatever reason, I kind of stopped using Notion, and I kind of stopped doing anything, any kind of like personal like tracking of stuff. But then then you started using it again, and then we spiraled.
Yeah.
Because it's like one of those things like you learn a little bit and it becomes very powerful.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, what I've done basically is I sat down, and actually what I was scared last time, where it was like, oh, it's overwhelming, there's too much stuff to do, I don't know where to start with. I actually, watched a bunch of video on YouTube of guys talking about it, because there's actually quite an active community around that. And just followed a few advice that some people of this community were giving. For example, like just before you start, just sit down, take half an hour and think what you want to use it for. And I think that kind of unblocked me in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and then it was over. So you shared some guy that posted, is Notion some kind of cult? Man,
yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
this is fucking crazy. Once you're in it, you're like,
yeah. I think, I mean, yeah, we're kind of scratching at the surface, and we're going around and so like going all over the place. We're not being very structured about this, but like it is kind of like the more you learn like one little thing, and you're like, okay, that's cool, and you're like, oh, I don't really know how I'd use that, and then like randomly, you know, a couple of days later, a week later, you'll be just doing something mundane. You'll be like, oh my God, I could use it that way. And then it's the kind of thing that you have to go and try. It's like an itch. It's like discovering something new. It's like you learn about it. You're like, oh yeah, that's cool. I can see how like, you know, that could kind of be useful for people. And it's kind of like in a way, it's kind of like a programming problem.
Yeah.
Where after a while you realize, oh, actually that solves this thing that like that actually makes what I was doing way more efficient. You know, like I was creating a list of things that I needed to do every day as like a to-do list, like just with like a checkbox to-do list. Mm-hmm. And then like you showed me, oh yeah, you know, you can add a column that's like it's like a true or false, and it shows a little checkbox. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool. Then you realize, oh, actually, if it's in a table and it has a checkbox, you can include tables and filter them and sort them, which means you can have a table on another page that filters by things that haven't been done yet but need to be like done on a certain date or whatever. So rather than just having this Kanban board that's just like this long list of to-dos, you can just like splice it into like something that is actually like a context that is actually useful, so you're not overwhelmed. Because I think that's one of the problems I had before, that I was always overwhelmed. I'd add stuff to my to-do and it'd just grow and grow and grow, and I'd never actually get them done. And then I was like, I'll stop looking at it.
Yeah.
Because it's like...
So just to give a tiny bit of details on that for people that don't know Notion, what's really cool about Notion, yeah, because I know where you're going, but I don't know if it's visually... it's basically you can build a table somewhere in your wiki pages, in your structure or whatever, and on another page you can import that table and apply filters to it. So basically, if you want to filter by a certain date, by some criteria that could be, have I done this task or have I not done it? That makes it pretty cool. And basically, instead of having this long list of like checked stuff or not checked stuff, you can just visualize the stuff that you need to do, or that as a due date for the next days, for example, or whatever. Like, possibilities are endless. So good.
Yeah, and it's probably worth noting as well that we keep saying these tables and, you know, oh, you know, it's due by this date or like whatever. And when we say it's due by this date, we mean that that's a column that we've added to the table. Like, we're filtering by something that like we have added. Like, it's completely customizable. You get the only thing I think that you have to have is a name.
Yeah, correct.
A name column. Everything else you can add yourself. So like, you can add tags, you can add a date, you can add a link, you can add loads of things. And once you've added those, when you include it on another page, you can filter by any one of those columns and hide any one of those columns, or show that table in a different way, like as a calendar, as a list, as a Kanban board if you wanted to, as whatever.
Yeah.
So it's It's kind of crazy.
Oh, it's so good. Honestly, I'm addicted to it now. I wasn't taking much notes. I was taking some notes on a notepad.
Yeah.
And because I didn't know what to use basically, and here so easy, and I finally found some moments where I was jumping back on my notes, and it gave really a reason for me to use it, and I don't know.
Yeah. Like since we've like kind of like really got into Notion again, or really got into Notion for the first time properly, really.
Yeah.
Like I have a notebook here, and the only things that I've written in the past like couple of weeks are things where I've like quickly wanted to write, because obviously there's always something going on in my house where I'm, you know, getting a new monitor or like desk or whatever that we've talked about, or doing my infra. But you know, like when I need to pay, I need to pay someone for some building work that's been done. Because I use apps on my phone to pay people. The only things that I've really written down are I open the email on the computer, I write the number down that I need to pay them, so that I go on the phone and then I send it, or like sort codes and account numbers. I just write them down here, and then and so that's one thing that I've written down. And the only other stuff is like little sketches to like work through code problems, like visualization problems for graphs and stuff. They're the only things for the past like 2 weeks.
Right.
Like, whereas before I was like filling a page a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm just doing it all in Notion now.
I had more or less that pattern, and so good. It's relieving a little bit, you know.
Yeah, because the thing is as well, you don't like using paper. I think is really good. Like if you want to organize your life, or like your work life. Let's just start with work life. It's really good, I think, to have a notepad next to you and you just write things down, because part of the thing of writing things down means that you're like recalling, you know, what someone's saying, which helps you remember it.
Yeah.
But realistically, like I write loads of random things down and I never go back and look at them. And if someone said, "Oh, you remember in that meeting that we had 3 weeks ago, where I said, you know, the user increase was like 3 or." What was it, 3.4, 3.6? I can't remember. Can you remember what it was? Like, if I wanted to do that with a notebook, I'd have to like flick through, like, oh, hang on, was it that? Was it before that?
Yeah.
What's the context of this page?
There's no control F on that page!
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There is no control F. Whereas with Notion, like, you just search for it. You just go, okay, what date was it on? Yeah, there it is. Oh, cool. Yeah, it was this.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the next, like, progression from working on paper is having something that's like indexable and searchable. So yeah.
Cool. I'm curious. Do you have like, what do you use it for at the moment? So you said meeting notes. Do you have like a way of organizing those stuff? Like very simply.
Yeah. So I guess I know we do this slightly different. So I have a few top level items. So I mainly use it for work right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using it a little bit, or trying to organize my personal stuff. Like I said, I've got this work going on in the house, and like we've had stuff done and we've bought stuff before, and I'm trying to like organize all those things so that they're easily findable in the future. You know, like invoices and stuff like that. But primarily use it for work. And I have a task list, which is basically just a table that I just chuck everything into. I have a notes like collection, I guess we could call it, which is just like, yeah, basic notes. I have a projects collection, which is just a list of like work projects, or actually I do have some personal projects in there, but like that's the thing. All of these are just like generic for everything. These are just like the big bucket database that you chuck stuff into. So I have projects, and then I have things, which I know that your projects and things are technically the same thing, but I've got things as just, I don't know, kind of like arbitrary bits of information. Like for me, projects are stuff that like actual projects at work. Like I am working on a merit cycle tool. That is a project. We have a thing called total rewards. That's a project. Whereas things is like, it can be companies, or customers that we work that we have. It could be, I'm trying to think of another example. Companies is the main thing that I'm using it for at the minute. But it could be anything. It could be like, it could be anything.
Yeah.
It could be like browser. It could be a tool or whatever. So I have things, and then I have documents, which is another one, which is just basically links to documents that I get given. And I have deadlines, which is basically, it's basically like a calendar view of things potentially, or of tasks. And then the final one I have is links. Like, these are my top things that I use, and then the final one is links, which is like a catch-all for any links. It's basically like a bookmarks bar that you could like chuck stuff in, and then you can organize. So like, that's the top level. So home, tasks, notes, projects, things, documents, deadlines, links. So that's quite a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I said home then, that I didn't actually mention before. And home is like a aggregated view of the important stuff that I need on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, they're the top levels. I won't go into how exactly they're linked.
Yeah,
I guess right now.
That's good. I didn't go exactly the same way as you, because obviously we had different needs, and our brains work differently. But
which is worth noting, that like, that's why it's so good.
Yeah, exactly. You can adapt it to yourself, so it's pretty good. And I use it a little bit more on a personal level, but I tend more to be on a. I tend more to use it as a professional. I actually implemented the Get Things Done methodology in Notion, because I was trying to test new things, and so the Get Things Done is like a methodology by I'm gonna get his name, David Allen, to get things done, basically. And I'm not gonna go in details into that, but basically you have the concept of tasks and projects, and tasks that you link to projects, and a way to kind of jump back and review your tasks that are linked to projects. It's pretty cool. I think it works well for me, because I was searching something a bit new to organize myself. But I implemented that in Notion. So I have basically tasks and Notion and projects, which are generic. I throw everything in there. That is work related, not work related. Well, I don't know what else. Yep. Everything, basically.
Work related and not work related. That's quite binary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I try to stay as minimal as possible. Like, initially, I had a setup with more different tables and stuff, and it didn't work for me because it was too complicated.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have only one, now I just fill a task. That's it. And the others that I have are like notes and links. But notes and links can be anything. Like you said, you had documents and links. For me, they're the same. It's the same thing. It's just a link in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is like the way that I use it is evolving, because like I keep thinking I need to reduce those down, and potentially even reduce projects and things down to one. So like, combine documents and links, and combine projects and things, and then potentially add to the projects and things one. The deadlines could just go on those. But yeah.
It comes with time. Like for me, initially I started using it with much more tables, and then I realized, wait, actually I can merge those, and it just had a label, and that's it. And it helped me so much more using it, because at this point I barely have anything to touch.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. Like, even now talking about it, I'm thinking I need to merge these things, because actually, so I have tasks. And I assign a task to both. I can assign a task to both a project and a thing. So I can assign it to this work project, and it is for this company. And then when I go on the project, when I go on that project, that work project, I click on it. I have a little. The screen shows like like views on different databases. So it shows all documents that are related to that project. It shows all notes that are related to that project. It shows all deadlines that are related to that project. It shows all things that are related to that project and all tasks that are related to that project. Whereas actually, and it filters by those things. Whereas actually, the project, like the task, could just have both a project and a thing attached to them from the same collection, and I just add 2 filters that filter by both of those.
Yeah, this is I base all my stuff on filters basically after that. Exactly like you're suggesting. Basically, it's
so it's just one big dump of stuff that you just
correct
pick and choose.
Yeah.
Oh man, see, this is the problem.
I love that shit. But
the thing is,
just to let you know,
go on.
I think I did basically normalization. Have you done that in database? Yeah. I've basically done normalization for my notes, and I arrive at like I can't reduce it more, honestly. I'm at this point where I'm very happy of that stuff, and I think now the next step for me is not refactoring my tables, but thinking templates, for example, like templates of notes, but yeah, we can go in details another time. And just to finish on a personal level, the others that I've done are just a reading list that I could actually put in links.
Yeah, nice.
Because at the time I splitted it work and non-work. I think now I could merge that list actually. I need to think that. But it's less rush, this one. Coffee roasting. I track my coffee roasting in there. And wine drinking that I just started.
Amazing.
I like to try to remember basically. So I have a table of wine that I can filter by. I just started it. I'm just testing stuff.
And then and it's great. And you can add tasks to it, like every day drink this wine. Oh, I've got a deadline. I've got to finish this bottle today.
This is difficult. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Look, I actually have a question. You've been using it now for what, 1 month, something like that? So a bit similar.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So what do you feel are the limits to Notion?
I would like a stronger kind of formula kind of situation for the tables, like because at Canonical use spreadsheets like Google Sheets a lot. I think we've talked about it before, but I used Google Sheets a lot and did a lot of calculations and use this cell, point to this cell, with formulas for various things, and pulling data in from various places. And while Notion does do those things, it's the way that it does it isn't the best. So I guess a concrete example would be I have a task and probably better is I have a project. In my current setup, I have projects and things. I have a project. It has multiple things. This project has multiple things assigned to it. I'd like to be able to, and then in the projects view, the project row, I guess, it kind of just shows all the things in a list that are assigned to it. I'd like to be able to say, okay, rather than show all of those things, just show me how many there are.
Yeah, okay.
That kind of thing, just to tidy things up a bit, because, especially at work, when I add more, for a project, there's more and more companies using that project, then I'm just going to have this massive long list.
So,
I could have 50 things there and I could hide it, but sometimes it's actually useful to be okay, there's this many projects.
So I'm cutting you because on that, I
assigned.
think it's possible. I think
oh my God.
You can do the progress bar. I've seen that multiple times, and I think that's possible. I'll dig some links and add that in the show notes.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the biggest limitation is actually finding all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that actually, yeah, the limitation really is like you do have to invest quite a bit of time into it to really think about it. Like I went through a phase when we started using it again like a month ago, where every morning in the week for about half an hour, I would move stuff around, rearrange stuff, and figure stuff out and change this, change that, which is fine if you got the time. But as you use it more and more and you commit more and more while you're still learning it, I think you're in a good place actually. Like you say, you've kind of reduced it down. You've consolidated down to like the bare minimum set of like tables that you can have really. You can't minimalize anymore. Whereas I'm still in that process, but I keep adding new things. And when you do that, when you have a new idea or you discover something new and you want to apply it to all of the things that you've already done, you have to go back and change it on each one. It'd be nice that if you create a template, when you update the template, it updates all the things that inherit that template. That'd be ideal.
Yeah. No, it's good points. One thing that I feel personally that is I really miss, and I know they're working on that, it's APIs integrations. Like, I deeply miss that because I want to see tools that people build to make your Notion, like to enhance the experience, basically. I've seen a tool that is kind of a competitor. I haven't dig that much. It's ClickUp that has a shit ton of extensions. It has a Chrome extension that is amazing. Like, if you want to create directly a task from an email, you just, like, the Chrome extension adds something on your Gmail where you can just click and say, add this to my task list.
That's pretty good.
You see that kind of things where you're like, okay, I'm in a meeting at the moment and someone tells me, can you do that? And for a reason I'm not taking notes or something like that. Actually, no, better example. Stand up in the morning is not a meeting where I take notes. And sometimes I commit to stuff verbally. And I would like to be able to kind of quick add a note. And because most of the time I'm the one sharing my screen, it's kind of awkward to just jump on my notes, add this to my task, and then jump back on the, I don't want to cut the flow. It's that thing. My God, when it's gonna come, I'm sure some people are gonna code some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, see, it's funny. Like, I agree to an extent, but also I really just like how simple. I mean, it's super complicated. It's not super complicated. It's pretty complicated to get your head around, but I'm actually enjoying how simple and how disconnected it is. So like at work we use Slack and you can have so many integrations with this and that and this and that, and all of these Slack channels become just noise, and I don't want it to be noisy.
I agree with that.
But I think there's a middle ground.
Yeah.
There's definitely a middle ground.
My perfect extension would be a Chrome extension that opens a pop-up that you initially, or Chrome or Firefox, whatever, that you initially say, okay, whenever I type something in there, it will add it to that specific table. That's it. That's all I want. Because this, for me, the way I would use that is it would write directly into notes. Not to notes, to tasks. It would add tasks, automatically a task, basically, whenever.
Yeah, you said notes, but I heard tasks.
Yeah. Everyone heard tasks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so what was the other project you said? ClickUp.
ClickUp, yeah.
Click.
I haven't digged in much into it, but it looks pretty... It's like... I think it's a Notion +++, because it adds a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there, which... It's very project management, basically, while I'm searching for a database, like a knowledge database, which...
Notion suits a lot better. Because there's someone at work that uses, or is an advocate for Coda, which is something similar. And actually one of the things I like about Coda is, I actually prefer Notion from what I've looked at Coda, but one of the nice things about Coda is that the kind of programming language or whatever it is, like the formulaic stuff that's within it, is crazy powerful.
Okay.
So you can, like this guy at work, he created it kind of reminds me of org mode in Emacs a little bit. So like in org mode, you can like, embed bits of code and then you can Babel it and it comes out and it just basically, it's a document with code embedded in it, but then you can export just the code and then that's a program that you can run.
Okay.
You can kind of do something similar. So he was like, doing documentation and doing a table of data. And from that table of data, he auto-generated TypeScript type definitions,
Okay.
which is like for all within Coda, which is pretty cool. So that's like, I guess that's probably like templating, like a templating language in a way. So that kind of stuff interests me more because that'd be super useful for like onboarding and stuff, like new devs, or even just having almost like because like at the minute, because work for a startup, we do a lot of like kind of manual data entry stuff, or like, we'll get a CSV from a customer and then we have to like, parse it and transform it. Whereas having something like Coda that just kind of either does it automatically or, does some stuff that is, we can give to like customer success or like sales or whatever, and they can just like type some numbers in or whatever, do this or that, like copy a template and do this or that, which is kind of like what we use Google Spreadsheets for now, but like do that and then it just automatically generates a thing.
Yeah.
That'd be ideal.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I haven't massively looked into it. This is just a bit of hearsay and yeah, kind of what I've kind of seen from the surface, but I'm all in on Notion. And I think we discussed this before, that like now is not the time to switch.
Yeah. I don't have much more to add. Like I agree. I'm deeply into it, and
Yeah.
I'm happy for now. Even with what's missing, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's still like massively feature rich.
Oh,
It's
so good.
like, even in this conversation, you said, oh, I'm pretty sure you can do that, and like now I'm going to have to go and see if I can.
Yeah.
And I've already decided that I need to reduce down the number of databases that I have. Like it's continually evolving. And
Well, I guess we'll have to have a follow up in a few episodes to see. Well, where are you?
Yeah.
With your Notion setup?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because like I've said, this is how I'm using it, but I've not even like I even have stuff like my old stuff from when I took notes before, and I haven't even organized that stuff yet. That's still just there.
Yeah.
I still need to organize it. It's still a mess.
That's good.
But at some point, I'm excited to organize it.
Well, look, I'm excited to see what you're gonna do with that.
Thanks, man.
I was going.
I just want to see how big your stuff gets, like with your coffee roasting and your wine tasting, and yeah, I just want to see how big it gets.
Oh man, I was about, and I think we should end that on that. I was about to make my drink table very generic, where I wanted to put beers, wine, and then I was like, actually, it's going to be confusing. I think it's better to split that in drinks, because like on wine you want to see the variety of grape that is used and all that stuff, which you don't care about that in beers, where you care more about the hop and
yeah, I was going to say, like, vintage isn't necessarily a massive deal in beer.
Yeah,
really. Like you don't want a 30-year-old beer.
No.
I mean, maybe you do actually. I don't know what
filtered
you like,
beer, I don't know 30 years, but they can stay a few years, and they continue to evolve in bottle. We can have an episode talking about that. Anyway, wow, that was a long episode about Notion. It's pretty cool. And hey, we are not sponsored by Notion, but we love that tool.
Yeah, definitely. We're not sponsored, but if Notion wanted to sponsor us, then I'd be happy with that. Yeah. I'd definitely love to be paid to use tools that I already use.
Yeah. Anyway, if you use Notion, please share in the comments, and please tell us how do you use it, because
Yeah, try and be more concise than we were.
Yeah, it was messy. No, is it? No.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we'll do a follow-up episode where we actually like explain it properly from like zero rather than just blab on about it. But whatever.
well, there's some pretty good good videos. I'll share a bunch of links on the show notes that
that'd be cool.
help me at
That'd
least
be
to
cool.
build my setup. And yeah, as usual, I would say 418 teapod or at 418 teapod on Twitter.
Don't forget the app.
Yeah, 418 at teapod.club. Luke is still waiting for his email.
Yeah, do you know what, actually, because I know certain people listen to this, I'm just going to start calling people out. So actually this week, Fran, send me an email at 418@teapod.club.
And we're waiting for your email.
Yep. Next week it'll be someone else. So yeah.
I love
Get on
it. Anyway, what do we say?
Oh Jesus, you just want that at the end.